Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and the show is called My Strategy. Well, very happy to be here with you today and glad that you can join us. My Strategy episodes are live and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to get your thoughts. So you can send us an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. Today we're going to be talking about, will artificial intelligence take your job? In this episode, I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and the impact on employment. AI may be replacing half of all jobs in 10 years, according to one study. And data shows AI will continue to evolve. So since this show is all about personal development, we're going to learn strategies to future-proof your career. Well, very happy to be here with you today. Saturday is a great day of the week to reflect on your strategy. It's the day of the week that I choose to reflect on my strategy. But keep in mind that any time's a great time to assess your strategy. Our show is all about personal development, and our show is and does continue to grow. We're available on iHeart, iTunes, Player FM, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker. So if you'd like to listen to a replay of this show, you can go there, or you can find any one of our other previous recordings there as well. You can find me on most social media platforms. My Twitter handle is @HawkinsJohn, and my web address is johnmhawkins.com. So Twitter handle is HawkinsJohn, and johnmhawkins.com is my website. If you'd like, we do offer from time to time giveaways. Go there and see what the latest giveaway is. And just like anything in life, we need to have a strategy and a plan to help us reach our goals, because the best laid plans don't always work. Now, this week, I am looking for stories about artificial intelligence, automation, anything that has to do with you and your thoughts and perspectives on artificial intelligence. Were you replaced by a robot? Do you have concerns? Let me know. Or if you have a tip or a trick, please send it to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. All right, well, today we're talking about artificial intelligence, which I will be referring to as AI. AI is basically robots may replace half of the jobs in the next decade. AI will be in every industry. And will humans have a place in the world as technology grows? We're also going to talk about, what does data say about AI, learn a little bit about where we stand with regard to artificial intelligence, the growth, the numbers. We've got some projections for 2025. We've got some projections with regard to GDP and how much it's going to be growing as an industry. Also going to talk a little bit about how big of a threat it is. So what is the threat? Who is at risk? AI is much cheaper and more productive than us when it comes to tasks. It doesn't sleep, eat, or get tired. We want to be aware of that and learn how to safeguard our jobs. AI is here to replace tasks, not jobs. We're going to talk a little bit about that. That's near term. And in fact, many Americans are worried about AI and the impact. We're then going to talk also about developing your strategy and putting together a plan to help us future-proof our career and protect ourselves against artificial intelligence. All right, I've got an article here by Sophia Yang. It says artificial intelligence will replace half of all jobs in the next decade. This is according to a technologist. It says AI will be bigger than any other technical revolution. Robots are likely to replace 50% of all jobs in the next decade. This is according to Kai-Fu Lee, the founder of venture capital firm Sinovation Ventures and a top voice on tech in China. He says artificial intelligence is the wave of the future. The influential technologist told CNBC, calling it the singular thing that will be larger than all human tech revolutions added together, including electricity, the industrial revolutions, internet, mobile internet, and many more. It's a pretty bold statement. It's going to be larger than all of those, which were pretty big. You go on to say that these are the things that's superhuman, and we think that this will be in every industry. It will replace 50% of human jobs, create a huge amount of wealth for mankind, and wipe out poverty, Lee said, later adding that he expected that displacement to occur in the next 10 years. Lee's view on technology are widely followed, in part because he previously headed Google China before founding his venture capital firm. He's also held posts at many other major tech companies like Apple and Microsoft. Speaking with CNBC from the Global Mobile Internet Conference in Beijing, Lee tackled the big question, will human beings have a place in the world as machines grow more intelligent? He says, touching one's heart with your heart is something that machines, he believes, will never be good at. He said, explaining that services jobs should be considered first-class employment. So that's one perspective with regard to artificial intelligence. I've got another vantage point here by Vishal Maria. It's an article titled The Future of Artificial Intelligence in the Workplace. It says here, smart technologies aren't just changing our homes, they're edging their way into numerous industries and are disrupting the workplace. Artificial intelligence has the potential to improve productivity, efficiency, and accuracy across an organization. But is this artificial intelligence movement entirely beneficial? Many fear that the rise of artificial intelligence will lead to machines and robots replacing human workers and view this progression in technology as a threat rather than a tool to better ourselves. Vishal says, is artificial intelligence a friend or is it a foe? I think that's what we're discussing today. You know, from one perspective, you can see that artificial intelligence is helping us to automate, to be able to do things that, air quotes, nobody else wants to do. But also there's the other side of that many people do like what they do, and they're very concerned. They're very concerned that it could potentially take their jobs. As there is an increasing evidence demonstrating the benefits of intelligent systems, more decision makers in the boardroom are gaining a better understanding of what AI really can offer. EY explains organizations enabling AI at the enterprise level are increasing in operational efficiency, making faster, more informed decisions, and innovating new products and services. The first companies employing AI systems across the board will gain competitive advantage, reduce operations, and remove headcount. Whilst this may be a positive from a business perspective, it's obviously a big worry for those in roles at risks of losing them. Although AI will affect every sector in some way, not every job is equally at risk, according to PwC. And it says, while many businesses are optimistic, 80% of the respondents in the survey said that they had lack of skills to implement this artificial intelligent technology. So as you can see here, while artificial intelligence is something that is gaining steam and gaining ground, there are some concerns on both sides. Are people going to be losing jobs as a result of AI? And then there's the other side, those who are in AI and developing technologies. Will they have enough technically savvy folks to be able to implement it? So that's what we're talking about today in today's show. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the data has to say about artificial intelligence. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. This is My Strategy, the show that's about personal development. Well, if you're just joining us, today we're talking about artificial intelligence, and will artificial intelligence take your job? Right before the break, we were talking about some of the predictions with regard to artificial intelligence. And some technologists say that 50% of jobs in the next decade will go to robots. In this segment, I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into what does the data say about artificial intelligence. Where is this going? I think you're going to find that it, in some cases, not understanding the industry and not understanding where they are can lead to fears. So it's always good for us to get some data and figure out exactly where they are so we can plan our strategy accordingly. I've got an article here by Nick G. It says AI statistics about smarter machines. Actually, it's a pretty darn good It's got an infographic and lots of good information here. He says, do chatbots, robots, and digital assistants intrigue you? What about automated vehicles and virtual assistants? He says they're all part of the world of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a field of computer science. It focuses on the creation of a machine that can replicate human behavior. The science fiction of yesterday quickly becomes reality. AI statistics surrounding the business and tech industries are changing. AI has already altered the way we think and interact with each other on a daily basis. Whether it's in healthcare, education, or manufacturing, AI yields a great deal of success in nearly every industry. So whether it's AI effect on startups, investments, robotics, big data, virtual digital assistants, the full market overview, voice recognition, the stats below, he says, will give us a better understanding of where we are. Some of the highlights: artificially intelligent powered voice assistants are likely to reach 8 billion by the year 2023. By 2025, the global AI market is expected to be almost 60 billion. The highest number of Alexa's inventory skills that are accessible in the United States are about 66,000. And he says that's just a drop in the ocean. It says global GDP will grow by 15.7 trillion. That's trillion with a T by 2030, thanks to AI. Investments in AI startups grew 6 times since the early 2000s. Already 77% of the devices we use feature one form of AI or another. Cyborg technology will help us overcome physical and cognitive impairments. And Google analysts believe that next year, 2020, robots will be smart enough to mimic complex human behavior, like joking and flirting. So as you can see, there's a lot of predictions here with regard to data, where it's going. And as we go through this, we want to understand what are some of those skills that artificial intelligence is looking to replace. What sort of automation are they doing? Because as we develop our strategy, we need to know where the threats are coming from. What are the risks here? So AI technology can enhance business productivity by 40%, which is very intriguing for businesses that want to find their competitive advantage. Businesses with more than 100,000 employees are more likely to have an AI strategy implemented that implements AI. 47% of established organizations have a defined AI strategy for mobile. As part of their marketing efforts, 47% of the more advanced enterprises have applied an AI strategy to their mobile apps. Additionally, 84% use a personalization strategy. 41% of consumers believe artificial intelligence will improve their lives. 33% of consumers think they're already using AI. 84% of global businesses believe AI will give them a competitive advantage. And here's that word competitive advantage again. There are benefits to having artificial intelligence and automation in the workplace. And as you can see, just by the statistics we've gone over today, the trend is going to continue as long as there is business benefit in implementing these technologies. Only 17% of email marketers planned on using artificial intelligence in 2018. So only 17%, those are the email marketers. 40% of people use voice search functions at least once a day. 30% of web browsing and searches will be done without a screen in 2020. That's an interesting statistic or prediction. 30% of web browsing and searches will be done without using a screen. I guess we're going to ask Amazon Echo or Siri to find us that data. Around 4 billion devices already work on AI-powered voice assistants. Digital assistants and AI stacks, nearly half of Americans use voice digital assistants. In 2017, a Pew Research study showed that 46% of Americans use digital assistants to interact with their smartphone. Voice assistants are present on a diverse range of devices, so 42% of the users have the tech on their smartphones. 14% of them use it on a computer or tablet, while 8% of them use it standalone. Pretty interesting. What are your usage patterns? Are you using Siri and other voice command artificial intelligence to search the web, to send text messages? I know I do. I guess what does all of this say with regard to the data? We know that there's different types of artificial intelligence out there. Those are the artificial intelligence that can replace the skills that are technical tasks that need to be done. And in last week's show, we really talked about soft skills and how these soft skills or transferable skills were the ones that were coveted, whereas the technical skills were the ones that were interchangeable. And so far, we're seeing artificial intelligence going after both of those. We see them going after the technical skills, being able to do job functions. So that's one thing to be thinking about as we continue through this show. But the other thing is, if we're looking for our own competitive advantage and our own competitive edge over AI, it's those soft skills that we need to be thinking about. So as we're going through this data, starting to understand that businesses are using it, companies are investing in it, the growth predictions are very high, I don't think there's any end in sight to the investment and the advancement that's going to happen with regard to artificial intelligence. I think what we want to figure out now is how do we future-proof our careers? How do we make sure that we're getting the skills necessary to be able to compete with the artificial intelligence and these robots? So start thinking about it from the perspective of soft skills, which are those transferable skills that we people have, and then the technical skills that artificial intelligence and automation are currently replacing. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about how big of a threat is artificial intelligence and what can be done. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence, and will artificial intelligence take our jobs? Right before the break, we were talking about some of the statistics and what the data says about artificial intelligence, and it's pretty clear that there are going to be continued investments as long as business sees value in it, which means that one way or the other, we're going to have to deal with artificial intelligence. This segment, I want to talk about how big of a threat is artificial intelligence. I've got an article here by Andrew Kucheravi. He's the founder and CEO of Initech, and the article is, Will AI Take Your Job, and What Can You Do to Protect It? It says, we will take your jobs, says Sophia, a humanoid robot powered by artificial intelligence. The audience of 60,000 world technology leaders heard this message. He says, at this point, you must have heard how advances in AI are disrupting industries and posing a threat to the security of millions of workers worldwide. The jobs of office clerks, receptionists, customer service reps, analysts, marketers, doctors, attorneys, underwriters, and creatives could all be replaced by AI in the next decade. This is according to Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. He said, in the next 10 years, we will shift to a world that is AI first. History repeats itself, and the fourth industrial revolution is on its way. The author says, but how big of a threat is artificial intelligence to your employment? He said, consider this. AI is cheaper and more productive than you are. AI doesn't sleep. It never needs a break, gets sick, or doesn't take vacations. It doesn't need health insurance or retirement benefits. It can work around the clock. It's much faster than you are, can instantly scale to a level that human workers can't simply achieve, can't quickly acquire, and learn new skills, and it doesn't make mistakes. He says, does that sound scary? He says, the engineer sitting next to me surely thought so. Even the very engineers that are designing AI are not safe from AI taking over their jobs. Recent advances in machine learning or deep learning that allow AI to learn without help from humans and evolve beyond our wildest expectations. Pretty scary stuff here, according to this author, right? I mean, imagine that. You're developing artificial intelligence and you, at some point, come to the realization that the job you do could be taken over by artificial intelligence. He says here an artificial intelligence program called AlphaGo Zero recently learned how to play the world's most difficult board game with more moves than chess. On its own, without relying on human knowledge, it reached world champion status in just 3 days. It then beat the previous version of AlphaGo, the one taught by humans, with a score of 100-0, demonstrating strategies previously unknown to humans, many of which were not entirely understood even by expert players. Sophia, the same robot that threatened to take our jobs at the conference, had another surprise up her sleeves with the announcement of Singularity Net, a decentralized open market for AI built on blockchain technology. Translated from geek speak, imagine an internet for artificial intelligence where all of the AIs in the world can communicate. It's kind of a scary thought. No wonder why people are concerned that artificial intelligence is going to take their job. There is no chance of this tide turning. He estimates that during the Web Summit, at least 2/3 of all tasked panels in startup focused on AI, or at least had a role for it in their presentations. AI is literally reshaping the world as we know it. It's hard to overstate, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos wrote, how big of an impact AI is going to have. He says here, so if you can't fight AI, then what can you do to safeguard your future employment? First step is to educate yourself about it. It's a field that is currently understood only by specialists. At the conference, Kevin Brady, Chief Digital Officer at Cisco, shared an observation that people embrace AI in their personal lives, like Amazon Alexa, Apple Siri, Google Now, Microsoft Cortana, but are very wary of it in their professional careers. And he speculates that people are naturally scared of what they don't understand and what is being shaped by Hollywood. So I think this is pretty important. You know, we've got a couple different perspectives on artificial intelligence, and really it comes down to the more we understand, the more clarity we have, the better we know what AI is capable of and not capable of. That information, giving us that context, is going to give us the power to be able to make educated decisions. It's going to give us the ability to determine what our next steps are. So I think as we start to think about our strategies, we start to think about how AI is going to impact us, we really need to get the full story. And it can't just be watching a movie from Hollywood. It's not reading an article or two, but really diving deep into the subject and figure out what are some of the things we need to be doing. He says here, all of this gives you a great and excellent opportunity to start future-proofing your job. Don't fight AI because you will lose every time. Instead, embrace it and become part of the revolution. You are already an expert in your field. All you're missing is the understanding of AI. You don't need to be an engineer or have a technical background, but you must have a basic understanding of how AI works, its applications in your industry, and what the future holds. So if you're in a position and you're concerned about AI, the first thing you need to do is really understand what are the implications of AI in your field, in your profession. How far has it advanced to date? And then start thinking about it from the perspective of that current state and where are they going. You're going to have time when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's a lot of advancement that still needs to happen to get it to a point where it's starting to replace these jobs. But we want to understand where we are current state. So from that perspective, it's important for us to know exactly where we are. This author says that, you might want to get involved in AI and get closer to it. The other thing to think about, and I mentioned this earlier, and it's going to be a persistent theme, is that AI currently is really focusing on those hard skills, and the soft skills are what are providing the most value. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm John M. Hawkins. You're listening to My Strategy. We're on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Well, if you're just joining us, very happy to have you join us. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence and will it take your job? Our My Strategy episodes are live and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Would love to get your thoughts. You can send an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. Say hi, just reach out, or give us your thoughts on artificial intelligence, automation, and how that is impacting you and your life. We'd love to get some stories. Right before the break, we were talking about how big of a threat is AI and what can be done. And, prior, I think the author's piece that we reviewed, he had a pretty doom and gloom version of it with regard to what AI is going to be doing and how far it can go. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, and it's here to replace, at least near-term, tasks and not jobs. I've got an article here by Joe McKendrick, and he says artificial intelligence will replace tasks, not jobs. And I think this is an important perspective because as last week we talked about really being able to develop soft skills. We learned that those soft skills, which are transferable, are skills that are in high demand right now. The hard skills, the things that you learn on the job, can get trained for, that can get tested for, those currently are what we see artificial intelligence doing. So from that perspective, there is time for us to develop our strategy. It's not like we're going to come in one day and, all those skills that we'd learned are going to be replaced by artificially intelligent robots. Because as we build our strategy and we start thinking about our personal development, there's always hope for us. And because there's hope, we just need to find the path to get through this. Joe says there is no shortage of angst when it comes to the impact of AI on jobs. For example, a survey by Pew Research Internet found that Americans are roughly twice as likely to express worry. 72% of them express worry than enthusiasm about the future of artificial intelligence, meaning there's 33% that are excited about it and 72% of the people are not excited about it. And the future of working with robots, computers, and doing our jobs. He says, however, at least one set of experts believe jobs will be shredded but not eliminated. Instead, worrying about job losses, executives should be helping to reduce jobs in which AI and machine learning take over boring tasks, while humans spend more time with higher level tasks. So that's the intent, right? Businesses focusing on replacing those mundane, boring tasks, which, for some of us, those are enjoyable tasks. You don't want a robot to do everything for you. But at the same time, there's these higher level tasks that robots are not going to be able to do. So I think we need to be thinking about, when we're thinking about our strategy and as we go through the rest of the show, what are some of those higher level tasks that we can be working on? And I propose that those soft skills are the skills that we need to be working on. Now, if you're at an employer or at a company that is implementing AI, most likely the business is focusing on the implementation of the automation rather than thinking about upskilling you to be able to focus on higher level tasks. So this is where, from a personal development perspective, we need to be proactive. We need to be out there thinking about this before the event comes. He says here, that's the word from Eric Brynjolfsson and Daniel Rock with MIT and Tom Mitchell of Carnegie Mellon University, who pointed out that the impact of machine learning, the self-programming, self-adjusting core of AI, is iffy. Machine learning will affect very different parts of the workforce than earlier waves of automation, they state in a recent paper. Instead, automation will occur on a task-by-task basis. So we are going to slowly see artificial intelligence coming in and taking job tasks, not entire jobs, so tasks or maybe functions. He says tasks within jobs typically show considerable variability in suitability for machine learning, while few, if any, jobs can be fully automated using machine learning. These experts continue to say machine learning technology can transform many jobs in the economy, but full automation will be less significant than the re-engineering of processes and reorganization of tasks. So it means here that there is some hope. We have time, and artificial intelligence, machine learning, ML, and automation are going to be replacing those tasks. So if you're in an industry, if you're out there and you're starting to see these tasks being fulfilled by artificially intelligent robots or computers, now's the time to start thinking about, well, what are those skills that are transferable that machine learning and robots are never going to be able to do? Last week we talked about leadership, and leadership was one of those soft skills that really you can't really test for leadership. You can ask somebody questions, you can get their opinion, but a leader is somebody who has the ability to go out there with their own style, with their own way of doing things, and they're able to accomplish goals that others could not. Those are some of the sorts of soft skills. Now, leadership isn't the only one. You don't all need to be leaders out there, but there's others, like communication, being able to work well with people, to be able to, work in a team, lots of different soft skills. They go on to say that they identified some top candidates for machine learning, such as concierges, mechanical drafters, morticians, undertakers, and funeral directors, credit authorizers, and brokerage. But some of the jobs least likely to be shredded are massage therapists, animal scientists, archaeologists, public address systems and other announcers, plasterers, and stucco masons. So just some ideas on jobs. Be interesting to go through your own industry and take a look at what are some of those jobs that may be wiped out in your own field. And as we start to think about it, I think it's important for us to become aware of how far AI has progressed in our own industry. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about developing your strategy. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm John M. Hawkins. The show is My Strategy. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence, and will artificial intelligence take your job? We've been talking about artificial intelligence and the impact on employment. AI may replace half of all jobs in 10 years, and the data shows AI will continue to evolve. So today we're learning strategies to future-proof your career. Before the break, we talked a little bit about replacing tasks, not jobs. And I hope by this point in the show, I've not increased your stress. I've not caused you to be even more concerned, because I want you to know that you too can develop a strategy. You can be on the winning side of artificial intelligence, even though we know that according to a Pew Research, over 72% of employees are very nervous and concerned about it. So I hope I didn't raise anyone's fears. But what I want to do is I want us to start thinking about this from the perspective of, what are we going to do about this? If artificial intelligence is growing, it's taking tasks, what are we going to do? So in this segment, I want to talk a little bit about your strategy. And I have a pretty simple approach to developing strategy. It fits on one hand. There's 5 steps. Awareness, what's your vision goals? What do you want to achieve? Assess and analyze is number 2. By assessing the situation and doing some analysis, you can figure out what steps to take. Strategize and plan. With courses of actions, you can identify and determine those courses that are going to get you closer to your goal. Implement your plan, start executing your courses of actions, and support and evaluation. So if we're thinking about this from the perspective of artificial intelligence and what is that going to do to our jobs, we need to have a plan. So first and foremost, the first step is, what is your vision, goals? What are you trying to achieve? Is work something that is just a end goal that you love to do and want to do, or is it a means to an end? I think we need to understand what are those goals that we have with regard to our careers, with regard to work, and be aware that, is it possible to have a change in career, to change what you're doing, to grow in leadership, so that you can continue to realize your vision and your goals, but that vision might be, you might get to that vision a little bit differently. So to help us do that, we need to assess and analyze. We need to be aware of our own industries, our own strengths. Where are we within these job functions or jobs and roles that we're doing at companies? We need to know what sorts of tasks are being automated. We want to get ahead of what is going to happen to these robots that are taking our jobs and start to think and strategize about those skills that we can develop. They're going to help us in the future. Now, the obvious skill is to join AI and start to, grow in that industry, because artificial intelligence is an industry that is absolutely going to be growing. So that's one option. You could be a person who is helping your industry to automate and helping to replace those hard skills, those tasks that are being done. You also can learn about AI and figure out how you can implement it in your own organization. And by getting engaged, being involved, helping lead the challenge in leading this revolution within your own department, your own company, it's going to give you, number one, context about where you are with regard to AI, where the industry is, how the businesses are using it. But that context is going to help you figure out, what are some of those next steps? What are some of those courses of actions? So if you're somebody who's in a job and you're very concerned that AI is going to take that job, it would be better for you to engage so that you can understand and figure out where the current tasks are that are going to be eliminated, or which ones are going to be eliminated. That way you can start working on those other skills, those transferable skills, to help you succeed in your current role and your current position. Now, there are going to be some people who are not able to, advance. They're not able to develop those soft skills. And if you can't do it, then that's where they might need to start thinking about alternative careers, or thinking about alternative job functions that they can do, which are not in direct threat from artificial intelligence. But the reality is, we all have choices. We all have skills. We all have the ability to develop personally. We can take ourselves as far as we want to go. So I don't want you to limit yourself and think that if you're in a position where artificial intelligence is coming and your job is predicted to be gone in the next 10 years, don't take it as a threat. Take it as a challenge. It's a great opportunity for you to learn something new. It's a great opportunity for you to become more involved. It's a great opportunity for you to be somebody who can help be a leader. And in doing so, you're going to identify some of the next steps, the courses of actions that are really going to help you advance soft skills, which currently artificial intelligence cannot really do a good job of doing that. Although there were some AI bots that do tell jokes and other things. If you're having a robot tell you jokes, it doesn't really have the timing and the punchline yet. So there's a lot of things with regard to human interaction, with regard to communications, with regard to, the competitive advantage of being the best customer experience in your marketplace. And we learned about that last week. So I want you to start thinking about this and really assessing where you are in your current job function. Start thinking about what are those tasks that are going to be automated. Get involved and start trying to identify those courses of actions that you can take to help future-proof your career at your organization, in your industry, so that when these tasks are automated, and they're going to be automated slowly over time, you're in a fantastic position to take advantage of what artificial intelligence is bringing and not be so worried about it. Now, I know it can be difficult, and it does take time and effort, but most things in life that are worthwhile doing do take time. They do take effort, and we need to proactively go after them and determine how are we going to go about solving this problem rather than just being a victim of the technology and, being forced to deal with the ramifications without being prepared. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to help you put your plan in place. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. The show is My Strategy, and I am your host, John M. Hawkins. I'm so happy to be here today. Today we've been talking about, will AI take your job? Talking about artificial intelligence, the impact on employment, how AI may replace half of all jobs in 10 years. Data shows AI will continue to evolve. We're learning strategies to future-proof your career. Well, I think, from my perspective, artificial intelligence is definitely something that could impact us. It is something that, as we've looked at the data, it does continue to grow. Now, will AI replace 50% of jobs in the next decade? I think that remains to be seen. We are seeing that artificial intelligence is, if not in most, but all industries, and it will be in all industries shortly. We know that as human beings, a lot of those technical skills that we do, those tasks that we do, are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. How do we know this? Well, we learned that the data shows that AI is progressing quickly. Voice assistants are going to reach 8 billion by 2023. By 2025, the global AI market is to exceed 60 billion. Global GDP to grow by 15.7 trillion, all thanks to artificial intelligence. What this means is that it is a revolution that is coming. And because it is coming, and as long as businesses and people see value in it, it will continue to grow. So from that perspective, we know that AI is going to impact us in one or more levels, whether it's our own career, whether it has to do with our personal lives. It is coming. But the question is, how big of a threat is artificial intelligence? And what can be done? Who is at risk? Are you at risk? Well, we do know that AI is cheaper and more productive than you. It doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, or get tired. So we want to start thinking about it from our jobs perspective, and how do we start to safeguard our jobs? The good news is that AI is starting to replace tasks, not jobs at this point, which means that we have some time. Some time, but how much we don't know. 72% of Americans are worried about AI. They see it as a threat. So what we want to do is be aware of those hard skills that it's being replaced, those boring tasks, and start to develop our strategy. We need to start seeing how it's impacting our industry, getting involved in the transformation. And as we start to get involved in the transformation, we can start to look for opportunities to upskill ourselves with soft skills or other transferable skills so that we can maintain our careers. I think it comes down to really having a focused plan. And when you have a plan and you implement new actions, it means you're going to have to break your old habits. And breaking those habits means you must be aware of those patterns and help you to shift your mindset, shift it to one of somebody who is not fixed, but somebody who is flexible. Because having some flexibility, doing your homework and understanding where we are with regard to artificial intelligence is going to set you up for the best position for future-proofing your career. Well, that's all the time we have for today. My name is John M. Hawkins. The show is My Strategy. We were coming to you live on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and we will see you next time.